Chapter 11, Albert's Journal of the Universe. 11th entry. Dream, a little dream of me.
September 2nd, 2045. Continued. In this journal, we have experienced dreams within our dreamscape. This is the first time that we would share our dreams with our previous beings. Mir, our wizard friend, turned out to be Seth. While in our sleep, we all met with our living beings from this ancient period. Memories of the impact this dream had was vivid. So this was not an intervention, but a reoccurrence of the natural flow of this time stream. We encountered our doppelgangers in person to offer encouragement for the mission they had just undertaken. This encounter was only possible in an alpha dream state, and we hoped the memory of this meeting would linger after they awoke from their sleep. As it turned out, Mir, Grace, Sir, Joy, and I get woke from this dream with feelings of determination, although they did not fully comprehend the meaning of the dreams they shared. Mir chronicled the dream on an old hemp parchment that he carried with him in hope that it would be discovered by future generations, reminding them of the mission contracts they had agreed to in their pre-life. Mir wrote in the ancient Sumerian text that he was taught in this life. Mir carried with him many parchments that he stored in our waterfall cave habitat. The parchments have a story as well, although that story will have to be told another time. After our dream sharing, Mir told us of a land where wildlife was plentiful, where people traded their plenty with each other, offering a greater variety of goods. This land could be reached by following the mountains till you got to a valley between two peaks, then following the river downstream in the direction that the sun travels. You cannot miss the structures that are there marking your destination. Four-sided structures of equal surface that join at a peak. It is told that these structures would take you into the heavens, return you to where you came from. Sir did not want to leave our waterfall habitat, but Grace, Joy, and I could still get his attention with pitched pleas. Mir agreed to steward the waterfall habitat while we journeyed to this paradise. This may have been the first real estate deal in history, her story. Mir now had possession of the waterfall habitat with the agreement that when we returned, we would take back possession. Little did we know that we would not return for many, many years. Our return would bring hardship, bickering, quarrels, violence, and even death. While we journeyed, Mir fixed the waterfall habitat to his comfort. He met a beautiful spouse who bared him 3 children. His spouse was called Glory. They named the children Opus, Beth, and Atlas. The wonderful waterfall habitat was now called Mirland. Our parents, Sir and Grace, were old now, tired from our disappointing journey. We had found the city paradise that Mir told of in his story, although the way into the heavens was blocked by perpetrated ignorance, false misleading stories, and guarded by brutes with pointed shafts. The alleged path to the heavens had been hijacked by a band of control-hungry psychopaths with the intention of claiming this gift as theirs alone. Mir was away when we returned. He had left on a mission to procure granite rock that would be used for building additional space just outside the waterfall on the shores of the river leading away from the falls. His new familiars were aware of the agreement Mir had made with Sir, although they did not agree. Opus, Beth, and Atlas had all been birthed under the waterfall and have lived here their whole lives. Glory, Mir's elfish wife, has made claim to all the land visible from the vantage point that the waterfall cave provided. This alleged claim stretched miles down the river with the forest on both sides. She justified her pitiful compromise by allowing us to camp in what she considered her forest. Grace was very influential with the growing populace within her claim, as they had made this bold claim many years previous, making deals with travelers that would be void if they knew the truth. Glory used her elfish magic to keep tabs on us from inside our waterfall habitat. This truth could not be known, so a campaign of support was started. Promises of land gifting were made as if Glory actually owned the land to persuade others to follow her word over truth. Glory came to us with a proposal she would allow us to stay in her forest by her waterfall habitat if we agreed to accept her as landowner, making homage payments to her alone and her siblings. How could Mir be attracted to this manipulating con artist? We did not have the words to describe the injustice we felt. Even the words that we found were claimed as knowledge given to us with a price. We did not know that Mir was adding a price to the agreement we had that allowed him to stay with us. The words he taught were claimed, copyrighted, so you could not use them against the gift giver teacher author. What is happening to this world? If we went back to our old ways of communication using grunts, gestures, and movements dance, we would be ridiculed as primitive animals. Mir would not allow for all of this twisted logic if he were here. Grace, Sir, Joy, and I anticipated his return, where all would be made right. When Mir returned, he visited us bringing with him a group of 20 men. adding to his newly acquired illusionary status as monarch within Mere Land. His new deal was not any better than the deal Grace was proposing. It was actually worse because he wanted a pledge of worship for bringing what he called civilization. Sir went berserk, reverting back to his primal learnings, lunging at Mira with clenched fist. He made noises that we only heard when we had done something wrong. Only now he was out of control. He could not speak like the rest of us, but he still knew right. Witnessing wrong against his familiars was too much for his already heightened sense of protection, coupled with frustration. Mir's guard dogs quickly stopped Sir's justified attack with the pointed ends of their staffs. Mir has taken our waterfall habitat and now our father, Sir. Joy, Grace, and I made Mir a counteroffer. Tell the people the truth. Quit making these ridiculous claims of ownership. Help us work to create something that we all can make use of together. Use your learned skills to contribute, not control. This counteroffer was out of the question as we were kidnapped, then held as prisoners. Before Sir was dragged out, Mir took his dead hand, dipped it in the blood, then placed a print on one of his parchment scrolls. Sir had finally in death with sleight of hand agreed to give everything to Mir. This man we thought was a friend was now an enemy. He was like that vortex in our waterfall pool that we learned would cause death. The word enemy was new to us, although we were quickly grasping its meaning. We were lowered into a pit that had been hollowed out. There was only one opening allowing light in. The opening of the pit was too high to reach. The floor was wet and muddy, with rounded walls impossible to climb. We survived on bugs, small critters, and little fresh water. We had to apologize to Scout and his tribe for eating their ancestors. The youngest of Glory and Mir's children, called Atlas, did not feel comfortable with how we were being treated. He had visions of a rule of laws he would create that would guide disputes to equitable ends. He was guided by inner wisdom. His family considered him misguided. He stuck to his passion by writing down what he felt the maxim of law should be. These laws would guide all other laws. With all his good intentions, he failed to realize that natural law is not written, but it overrides anything written by man. Mir's parchment collection was now becoming a library. Glory would twist many of Atlas's inner revelations to fit an agenda more conducive to claim makers. Meanwhile, Grace, Joy, and I became mere shadows of our former selves. As we gazed at the stars through the pit's opening, we wondered when we would escape the oppressive confinement we had willingly entered. One night, while watching the stars, a cage was lowered into our pit, and we were beckoned to climb inside. After being lifted out, we were guided to a raft that would transport us down the river to lands unknown to us. It was just Joy and I now, as our mother Grace did not survive the voyage in the river. When we finally came to rest on the shores of a lake with no end, we climbed out to be greeted by clubs and spears. We were now prisoners of a new clan of man. They were new to us anyway. The remains of our mother were taken also. She was placed on an altar, then burned. This clan, our captors were not as advanced as we had become. Our arrival was magical to them. We floated on the water, our skin was pale with our hair a different color. We spoke in different sounds, had knowledge of fire along with experience with nature. Joy and I were now the teachers that this clan held in reverence. This was much better than being prisoners in a pit full of despair. Many came from all around this area to hear our teaching. We told stories of our waterfall habitat that was now denied to us. We planted seeds of retribution where we would one day recapture our waterfall land. In many ways, we built the society that we wanted Mir to build with us, one that had no status claims or misguided manipulations. For those that listened, we encouraged them to follow the inner guidance from our center. The only real worthwhile lesson that Mir had taught us. Each clansman woman had a natural essence that we helped them discover. This essence always brought value to the clan. The clan gave freely of their essences, knowing that it would make them all better off. No one was held as being better or worse, as we all have value. Joy met a clansman that was quick to learn. She took special interest in him, calling him adept. They soon joined his family after their attraction to each other grew into a frenzy of shared emotions, bringing new life to the clan. I found a mate that had a link with nature that marveled my instincts. We called her Empathy. This was a good time for us, as soon more were added to our growing clan. Joy had 2 more children, a girl, then a boy after her, the joining ceremony with Adept and the birth of their first girl. Empathy gave us 4 boys that grew so quickly into men. All of our children heard our story of the waterfall habitat with the cunning Mir. Our first journey as Earget and Hey Joy ended peacefully. Many of our fellow clansmen are in this soul group. We always found each other from one lifetime to the next. Memories of Er and Hay have been long forgotten. If not for this dream recapitulation, they may have never held any significance. This story of the clansmen in Mirland continues without our spirit participation. The clansmen eventually invaded Mirland in a misguided attempt to right a previous wrong. Natural law is obvious: two wrongs do not equal a right. Mirland was better off with the clansmen, so the universe was made better in a small area for a brief moment after the redemption invasion. The corrupt ideas in Mirland twisted good intentions into tools of manipulation, so who won? The lives of Ur and Hay entered the Akashic records, as do all unfolding stories. This narrative repeats itself with minor changes in names, times, places, and circumstances. It begins with someone making claims that, under natural law, are humorous at best. We inhabit a natural domain our bodies borrowed for a lifetime, which should never be violated without our informed consent, and this principle applies universally. We must not infringe upon others. The possessions acquired on Gaia cannot be taken back to the heavens, although you may manifest them anew once there, should you still desire them. Claiming ownership of time, space, land, air, water, fire, speech ideas is the mentality of bully cowards. Soon we would enter the age of trust, as many bought new meaning to the word breach. Sir had a trust agreement with Mir. Sir was unknowingly the grantor of the trust, as Mir became the trustee, with Sir and our family as the beneficiaries of the trust. Once Sir became a beneficiary, he was no longer the grantor. Mir was clearly in breach of trust. The claims of ownership of the lands, waters, along with all that he could watch over, was another breach of mankind's trust as stewards of Gaia. We watched in amazement as even the concept of trust, that has the root true in it, could be manipulated into a tool of control by some. This became a new catch as the position of trustee was granted by a higher god authority with their flock of followers as alleged beneficiaries, which have no say-so in the trust agreement. The grantor is no longer available, but here is the document that proves it, on this magical paper. It says so in the literature we give you to read. Trust us. We are divine, blessed with divine knowledge passed on through our heritage. Give us your belief so we can capture your spirit. We can use your spirit as collateral when dealing with other psychopaths. Some governments and religions used trust agreements to gain control of the people without closure or consent. Gaia's people were spread out around the world. The red tribes were split by the continents splitting. Man would not meet up with many of their red brother and sisters until the rediscovery of what would be renamed the Americas. Most all alien intervention is done behind the scenes with many veils of illusion to get through to them. Masters appeared in different areas in many timelines as man progressed, once again remembering their star heritage. The attention-seeking psychopath prospered in this bizarre world as Prophet was slowly becoming the active deity that most people worship. Lifetime after lifetime went by, way too many stories to tell in this journal. Methods of extorting energy from others was turned into an almost deniable fine-tuned instrument. For the most part, everyone went around unaware of any manipulations, while perpetrating the manipulations along. The rise and fall of regions around the world were just part of the grand experiment. Currency became the rulers as alleged kings, queens, monarchs, dictators, emperors, religions, and corporations, states or governments of any kind all sought its influence. The controllers of currency controlled the world. These controllers created trust agreements to use as collateral. The alleged plantation landlords, kings, queens, all knew this as they struggled to increase their flock, therefore raising their imaginary status. One only has to look at man's history, her story, to see the conflicts this causes. Government census is just an inventory of stock for trading purposes, masked as a way to see what the people need the most. Everything was working like a fine-crafted watch until the birth of mass communication that took place in the lives we are living now in 2045, using the Gregorian time clock. This recapitulation dream that we are experiencing is taking us through to the roots of what causes failures to great empires. Joy and Get started with ideas that developed amongst the Red Man before the return of the Eastern influence. Our family of star beings met up in another story of great relevance on this quest for healing of Gaia. This has become an all-out effort to break the cycles of decline, creating a lasting path toward growth and evolution. We have become cosmic matrix script writers. Many lifetimes went by before the next major learning experience in society's hope for thriving presented itself. The Hopi Indians held great influence in many alternative timelines. In our next experience, the group of dream vacationers would not reveal themselves until the galactic intervention from the Hopi spirit Maso. This life as a Hopi Indian would shed light on our now cosmic mission to bring about new cycles as healthy, compassionate source creations with never-before-realized potential. The first memory that I have in this lifetime as a Hopi Indian in the deserts of what is now called Arizona was crying for breath in new surroundings. My birth took place on a center of power, emanating from the Great Spirit. My awareness was peaked, my senses were heightened, my parents were nurturing balls of energy with a physical form in the center that they could use to interact in the three-dimensional realm we are gifted to be in. This story should be told as another journal entry. The visit of Masaw with the return of Masaw about to happen again in our prime reality. Our family of souls all played a special role that will illuminate answers on this cosmic quest before our dream vacation ends. The Dreaming Soul Group has encountered a fundamental societal pillar in this reality. Trust, along with belief in natural law, sustains the reality we have crafted. How should we respond to trustees who violate a trust? We should withdraw our belief in them. It's important to recognize that not all of humanity perceives reality identically, which may become evident in future journal entries.
Okay, so this may be getting interesting. I hope you see the value in looking at ourselves in a self-diagnostic, playful manner. Please subscribe, like, and share if you are having fun. Thank you. You can also visit quasiversecomicbooks.com for more.